Imagine a world where the arrival of winter does not signify a closing of borders, but the opening of vast, crystalline highways across the landscape. In the heart of the Middle Ages, when the Great Frost settled over northern Europe, the rivers and marshes of the lowlands transformed into solid sheets of glass. You stand at the edge of a frozen mere in 11th century Scandinavia, the air so cold it feels brittle against your skin. Below your feet, the water has become a firm foundation, yet its surface is too slick for ordinary leather soles to navigate with any speed. To conquer this terrain, you reach for a tool born of necessity and biological waste, the long, bleached radius of a horse. This bone, once the structural support of a powerful animal, has been repurposed into a precision instrument for winter travel. The process of creating these skates begins with the selection of the perfect specimen, usually the metacarpal or metatarsal bones of cattle, or the radius of a horse. These specific bones are chosen for their natural length, their inherent density, and the relatively flat surface they provide once prepared. You hold the bone in your hands, feeling its surprising weight and the cool, stony texture of its exterior. It has been stripped of all flesh and marrow, then left to dry until it reaches a ghostly, pale consistency that resists the dampness of the ice. To prepare the gliding surface, you use a sharp iron knife or a rough whetstone to shave down the natural ridges of the bone. You work slowly, watching the fine white dust settle on your woolen tunic, as the underside of the bone becomes as smooth as the ice it will soon traverse. The bone is not solid like a rock, but contains a porous internal structure that allows it to retain a microscopic layer of oil or fat. This natural lubrication is the secret to its success, allowing the skate to glide with remarkably low friction across the frozen water. Next, you take a small iron drill or a heated awl to create holes at either end of the bone. One hole is positioned at the front to secure the toe, and another at the back to anchor the heel against the shifting weight of your stride. You thread supple thongs of deer hide through these openings, the leather having been treated with grease to keep it from snapping in the sub-zero temperatures. These straps will bind the bone firmly to your turn shoes, creating a secondary skeleton for your feet. As you lash the first bone to your left boot, you pull the leather tight, feeling the rigidity of the animal remains against your sole. There is a primitive satisfaction in the way the curve of the bone matches the arch of your foot, a marriage of human ingenuity and natural geometry. With the second skate secured, you stand up tentatively, the world suddenly feeling different beneath your weight. On solid ground, the bones are awkward and clattering, but as you step onto the white crust of the frozen lake, the friction disappears. Unlike modern steel skates, these bone blades do not have sharp edges meant for digging into the ice to push off. If you were to try and kick sideways as a modern skater, your feet would simply slip away from you, leaving you sprawled on the cold surface. Instead, you reach for your third essential tool, a long, sturdy wooden pole tipped with a sharp iron spike known as an ispick. This pole is your engine, the means by which you will propel yourself across the endless white plains. You plant the iron tip of the pole firmly into the ice between your feet and push backward with a steady, rhythmic motion. The sensation is immediate. You are no longer walking, but flowing across the landscape with a grace that seems almost supernatural. The sound of the bone on ice is a dull, hollow ringing, a soft percussion that echoes through the silent, snow-covered trees. It is a much warmer, deeper sound than the high-pitched hiss of metal, a sound that belongs to the earth and the animals that once walked upon it. As you gain momentum, the wind of your own movement begins to whistle past your ears, carrying the scent of wood smoke from distant hearths. You move at a pace that would be impossible on foot, covering miles of treacherous marshland in a fraction of the time. In the medieval mind, these skates were more than just toys for the young. They were vital tools for the survival of the community. They allowed messengers to carry word between isolated villages and enabled hunters to track game across frozen bogs that would swallow a man in the summer. You pass a group of merchants who are using larger versions of these bone sled runners to transport bundles of furs and salt toward the coastal markets. The efficiency of the bone on ice transformed the winter from a season of isolation into a season of high-speed commerce and connection. The physics of the bone skate is a masterpiece of unintentional engineering, utilizing the unique properties of collagen and calcium. The porous surface traps a thin film of water generated by the pressure of your weight, allowing you to hydroplane across the surface. This film of water acts as a lubricant, and because the bone is a poor conductor of heat compared to metal, it maintains this liquid layer with very little energy loss. You feel the subtle vibrations of the ice through the marrow cavity of the bone, a tactile map of the frozen world beneath you. You glide past a stand of skeletal willow trees, their branches encased in a thick layer of rime ice that glitters like diamonds in the pale winter sun. The landscape is a monochrome masterpiece of whites, grays, and deep, ink-like blues where the ice is thickest and most pure. Occasionally, you encounter a patch of rougher ice where the wind has whipped the water into frozen waves before it could settle. You bend your knees, absorbing the bumps through the natural resilience of the bone, your balance assisted by the constant contact of your pole. The rhythmic push of the pole becomes a form of meditation, a repetitive motion that clears the mind of all but the immediate needs of the journey. Push, glide, breathe. The cycle continues as the sun hangs low on the horizon, a cold gold orb in a violet sky. You think of the artisans in the towns who specialize in the carving of these bones, their workshops filled with the smell of scorched calcium and wet leather. They understand the grain of the bone, knowing exactly which piece will provide the longest service before wearing thin against the abrasive ice. As the afternoon wanes, the temperature begins to drop even further, and the ice groans and cracks with the shifting pressure of the deep water below. It is a profound, booming sound that vibrates in your chest, a reminder of the power of the elements you are currently skimming over. You approach your destination, a small settlement where the flickering orange light of the Great Hall promises warmth and safety. You slow your pace, dragging the heel of your bone skates to create friction, coming to a gentle, controlled halt at the shoreline. Sitting on a fallen log, you unfasten the frozen leather straps, your fingers numb, but your heart racing from the exhilaration of the crossing. The bones are wet and slick, but as the air hits them, they begin to frost over, the moisture crystallizing on their polished surfaces. You carry the skates inside, hanging them by the hearth where the gentle heat will dry the leather without making it brittle. In the morning, you will apply a fresh layer of tallow to the bone to ensure the glide remains effortless for the return journey. The story of the bone skate is the story of human adaptability, of taking the remnants of the hunt and turning them into the keys to the kingdom of winter. It is a reminder that even in the harshest conditions, we find a way to move, to trade, and to thrive. Now, as you sit by the fire, the memory of the glide lingers in your limbs, a rhythmic phantom of the day's travel. The shadows on the wall dance as the logs shift, and the heavy wool of your blanket feels like a shield against the world outside. The frost continues to grow on the window panes, etching intricate patterns that mimic the paths you carved across the ice. The house is quiet, save for the soft breathing of your family and the occasional pop of of the dying embers in the grate. You close your eyes, and in the darkness, you can still feel the cold wind on your face and the smooth, effortless slide of the bone. You are safe, you are warm, and the frozen highway waits for you in the morning, a silent witness to the ingenuity of the ages. Let your mind drift now, as the image of the white ice fades into a soft, velvet grey. The journey is over, the skates are at rest, and the long winter night is here to hold you in its peaceful, frozen embrace. Sleep comes as a quiet snowfall, blanketing your thoughts and muffling the sounds of the world. You are drifting now, sliding into a dreamless rest, as deep and still as the ice on the mere. Discover more history by watching the next video. We're eager to share more with you. You can't go wrong. All our videos are deeply detailed, dull while fascinating, and distinctly sleep-inducing.